Welcome to Meldon Law and Friends. I'm Jeffrey Meldon, founder and attorney at Meldon Law, and I have the great privilege of having as our guest today my son, Carey Meldon, the managing partner at Meldon Law. Welcome. How are you doing today, Carey?
Great. Thank you for inviting me onto the podcast.
Yeah, it's a Meldon Law podcast. So I thought this is a new deal for us because I don't think I've interviewed you before on the podcast.
I don't believe so. We've done podcasts together with other interviewers, but never just us two. So you got Meldon squared.
So anyhow, this is a VIP edition of Meldon Law and Friends. And thank you all for listening and watching our podcast over the last, almost 6 years, 5.5 years. We started in September, I think, of 2020. And we really enjoy all the wonderful guests that we've had and all the interesting conversations we've had with members of our community. And that's a good place to start, Carey. Why don't you discuss a little bit about, what it was like growing up in Gainesville, Florida? Because Carey is a official ACR, which means Alachua County resident, meaning that he was born and raised here in Gainesville, Alachua County, Florida. So you got the floor for a few minutes, Carey.
Thanks. Well, I was born in the 70s, so I grew up in Gainesville during the 80s and 90s. I graduated GHS, Gainesville High School in 1996, and I went to quite a few schools along the way. I went to Flowers Montessori and Christian Academy, and I think I even went to Glen Springs for a little bit, and then Brentwood, and then Talbot, and then Fort Clark. So I had a lot of relationships with a lot of different people growing up in Gainesville, and of course Gainesville's changed just like a lot of other cities in Florida throughout the past 30, 40 years. But growing up in Gainesville was really a blessing. I was able to develop lifelong relationships with people and understand a little bit about what makes Gainesville different than other places, especially in the Southeast. So I was lucky, grew up in a great neighborhood. Dad and Mom always made sure that we were taken care of. Was able to play a ton of sports and achieve a lot of really great things, and met incredible mentors and friends along the way.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. We lived out in the Hammock subdivision out Millhopper Road, for those of you that know the area. And we had big wooded lots out in the Hammock subdivision. And basically when the kids would come home from school, they'd just go romp around the neighborhood with their friends, and the friends would wind up back at our house a lot of times because we always had an open refrigerator, right?
Yeah, well, all the houses, I think back then maybe it's different than is now, where all the houses were open. We didn't have cell phones. I don't even think we really had cable TV growing up. We may have gotten it when I was like 12 or 11, but we didn't grow up inside the house. We were always outside. Playing with the people in the neighborhood, and basically the only rule was to get home by dark. But otherwise, Dad and Mom didn't really care where I was. They didn't want to know what I was doing or where I was going. And there was a lot of freedom, and it was a really safe neighborhood. And so I think it was fortunate growing up without all the social media, without computers, without cell phones, because you were able to kind of learn how to do things on your own. I mean, even when I got to college, we didn't have cell phones. And I remember I went to school in Virginia, and even I was 18 years old, and I would rent a U-Haul, and I would use a foldable paper map and navigate all the way up to Virginia from Florida on my own, trailering, a 20-foot U-Haul, and they were cool with it. Like I don't think it was ever a thought, and I couldn't call and check in where I was, and if I needed to stop, I'd stop at a Days Inn and spend $60 on a motel and just stay in the motel on my own. So I don't know. It was just a little bit of a different era, I think, growing up at that age than maybe the kids now.
I think there were a lot of positives about it. I try to stay in touch with, the changes that have occurred in the world since then. But it's been a wonderful community for me to spend my adult life in, for Carey to grow up in, and now be the managing partner for the Meldon Law Firm. It's pretty cool. Carey went to William and Mary undergraduate school, and then you made your way back to Stetson Law School.
Yeah, I was very fortunate to be able to go to school in Virginia. I spent 5 years in Virginia going to school in Williamsburg, which was much different than University of Florida. Gainesville is obviously a college town, and Williamsburg, where William and Mary is located, was not a college town. It's really I don't know if a tourist town is the right way to categorize it, but it's a
legitimate historic town.
Right. Obviously Jamestown was founded very close by, and that was one of the earliest American colonies. And a lot of our founding fathers attended William and Mary, including Thomas Jefferson. So it had a lot. It was the second oldest university behind Harvard. Harvard was founded in 1688, and William and Mary was founded in 1693. So both, you can see it was, the school began before the United States was even created. And the history around that area was really interesting, and it was a beautiful campus, but there was no college bars. There was a rule in Williamsburg where every place that sold alcohol had to sell at least 51% food. So there was just delis that served alcohol. So, a lot of the stuff was brought off campus, but more so learning from people in the school who had gone to private schools and public schools up in the Northeast. I was exposed to a much different environment than the people down here in South Florida. So I thought that was really useful, and it created kind of a unique perspective when I did come back to Florida to attend Stetson, which ironically, Stetson's the Florida's first law school as well. It was founded almost 120 years ago, and they moved campuses from DeLand to St. Petersburg in the 1950s. But I was able to go to law school in St. Pete and spend time in Tampa, work in Tampa, travel to and from St. Pete. And it was a really awesome place to go to law school.
Yeah, I know during the summers, and even when you were in law school, you were clerking for some, really top-notch law firms down there, and you got to see, what a big-time operation was like.
Sure. So Dad had some great connections. I was able to work with a very, very popular and legendary lawyer, Barry Cohen, who had since passed away, but he had a large law firm in Tampa, so I was able to work with him and discover how a law firm works on complex, significant cases that are tens and hundreds of millions of dollars. I was also able to clerk with Larry Turner, who was a judge back then, and and he was taking me back into his chambers, and he was really instrumental in advising me as to why certain lawyers were, behaving in certain ways. And I was immature. I was young. I think all of us, have that time period, so we don't really understand the importance of what we're seeing sometimes until we look at it back in history and we gain perspective.
And then Carey graduates Stetson Law School, 2005? Why don't you tell everybody the story about Grandpa Maurice?
Yeah, so my mother's father, Maurice Wagner, was a very, I would say, unique trial lawyer. He was one of the first trial lawyers in Florida that was handling civil litigation, and he had gone to Stetson. I think he graduated in 50 or 51. Maybe it was 49. It was
50 or 51.
It was 50 or 51. So he had graduated Stetson Law School back then. He had gone to law school on the GI Bill after he had served in World War II. And for him, it was an opportunity to lead a better life. He did not grow up very wealthy. And so having the GI Bill, which had been recently introduced, gave him that opportunity to get that education. And he went down to Miami initially and learned about civil litigation, which was not really widespread at that time.
In particular, personal injury civil litigation. It wasn't just, commercial litigation. There was a whole group of very, very nationally prominent lawyers that started right in Miami. J.B. Spence and a number of others who were legendary. And they really started PI practice, personal injury claims, because before World War II, we had the Depression. People didn't have car insurance like they had now. It wasn't even until 1916 that the Supreme Court ruled in that McPherson versus Buick case that you could make personal injury claims against other people. So the personal injury world really came about after World War II for most purposes, and Grandpa Maurice was right there at the forefront of it.
Yeah, and he was very, very forceful in court. He was known for being someone that you did not want to go against because he was very effective. He practiced criminal defense. He had practiced, of course, personal injury law. And when he first started off, he really wasn't, very well known or wealthy. He moved to Daytona area up in Volusia County, and he was very, let me say, scrappy. He would. I think he remember him saying that he would exchange his legal services for food sometimes, like chicken. Him and my grandmother was very young at that time, were just trying to get by. And so he would do whatever he needed to when he first started to make sure that he was able to put food on the table. That included representing African Americans, and he was one of the first white people in Florida to represent African Americans. And in fact, I believe he was the first white member of the Volusia County chapter of the NAACP. And part of his legacy was that he would not be bullied. And when he would go to court, he demanded that his African American clients were treated with respect. And if the judge tried to bully or demean his clients, he would literally go and fight with the judge, to the extent that he got thrown in jail multiple times for contempt, because he would not back down. He would fight for his clients, and he did not care about the personal consequences to him if he thought that what he was doing was righteous and it was the right thing to do. He had he was a complicated person, but he had a moral compass, and he had a belief in himself that if he thought that something needed to happen, then it would happen. And if somebody got in his way, they were going to be taken down. And I always thought that was pretty incredible. Like, if somebody tries to stop you, you bulldoze through them if you can, and if you can't, you make them hurt, because people do not like to be hurt, and people do not like to be bulldozed, and most people don't like conflict. And what he taught me is that conflict isn't always necessarily a bad habit. I think, there's certain conflict that should be avoided, but when push comes to shove, stand your ground. I mean, ultimately, what we think today may not be how we're remembered in the future. And he's a great example of that. He was, frowned upon by a lot of the local lawyers at first because he would represent African Americans. He was not necessarily popular with all the judges because he would push up against them. But by the time I graduated law school, I went to Daytona to practice with the state attorney's office as a prosecutor. And I had two separate judges pull me to the bench and said that when they went against him, he was the best lawyer that they'd ever seen, and he was the only one that struck fear in their heart. And before he passed away, he was actually awarded the most prestigious award in the state of Florida, the Tobias Simon Pro Bono Award, because he spent half of his life providing free legal services and giving back to people that couldn't afford to represent themselves. And so I think what he had was a special combination of self-awareness and bravery and courage. And it's really hard to find that. There's a lot of people who are brave because it makes them feel good, and they do it because they focus on themselves, and they want to put themselves out there as like, I'm the center of attention. Everything's about me, me, me. I don't think he was one of those people. I think he was dashing and flashy and drove fancy cars, and when he became wealthy, he was a flamboyant guy.
Flew his own private jet.
Well, jet, but he had his own plane. Yeah, it was a scary plane. I flew in it multiple times. It was not the safest plane. It was a single prop, but he did it not out of ego, but he did it because he felt like that was the right thing to do.
And the example that Carey mentioned, there was a black gentleman he was representing, whatever his name was, Willie Jones, and the judge knew of him as I think a lawn maintenance guy, and the judge told Maurice to call him by his first name, not Mr. Jones. And Maurice said, no, that's not right. I'm not going to call him Willie. I'm going to call him Mr. Jones because he deserves the same respect that anyone else that enters this courtroom deserves. And the judge literally threw him in jail for contempt of court for refusing to call him only by his first name.
I believe it was a justice of the peace, and he was notorious for being a racist. And just he would bring his hound dogs into court and ask his hound dogs how to rule on cases, which is, you couldn't believe it's true, but it was true. And back then, the justice of the peace didn't even have to be a lawyer. They could just be regular people elected to oversee these legal matters. And Maurice just wasn't having it. My grandfather just, would not abide by him. And, obviously you want to be respectful of the court. You want to be respectful for the judges. You want to be respectful of everybody. But there comes a certain point where if you have enough courage, can you stick by your guns when it's difficult, right? I mean, it's easy to follow the herd, and we're all guilty, including myself, of doing it. But you see that even in today, people want you to think a certain way. The media may be biased in a certain manner to try to make you feel guilty for a way that you think. And ultimately, you live your one life, and you have to make your own decisions based upon the information that you believe is true. And to me, that's the definition of character.
The special moment was when you graduated from Stetson Law School. Why don't you tell them how that unfolded?
Yeah, he was able to hand me my diploma before he passed away. He because he had been a graduate of Stetson himself, he was invited to go on stage and present me with my diploma. So that was a special moment, and I was glad to be able to spend time with him while I was a lawyer before he did pass away.
Yeah, and then you made your journey to Daytona with the state attorney's office. How did that experience shape your, legal skills?
Well, it was smart that I went to Daytona because nobody knew who I was, so I could make my mistakes without it being reflected upon Dad. But more importantly, I was able to get a ton of trial experience. I was able to meet a lot of good other lawyers who are now judges that I'm still friends with. And I was able to gain my confidence and figure out kind of who I was and what I wanted to be during those early years. There's in sports, for example, if you watch golfers, they all have their unique golf swings. Nobody swings exactly the same. And I kind of feel like that translates to what we do in in litigation as well is that everybody has their own style. Everybody has their own perspective. Everybody has their own presentation, and you can borrow and you can take and you can emulate, but ultimately the authenticity of a trial lawyer is similar to the genuine authenticity of a golfer's swing. If you really know who you are and you know what you do and you can do it, repeat it and do it over and over again, you can excel. And I had a great opportunity. I handled thousands and thousands of cases before I even turned 30 years old, and was able to communicate with jurors and try case and deal with adults in my 20s with very serious situations, life-changing situations. So, after that, my confidence was of such that if I felt like I had the moral compass and I had the knowledge that I can move forward in a manner that I saw fit, that doesn't mean I'm not receptive to input and to other views, because I think we're always learning, and if you're not always learning and adopting and becoming better, then you're stunted. But I think at some point you have to kind of figure out who you are, what your style is, and kind of run with it.
We were very lucky, Carey, because we both did criminal defense, where it's a lot easier to get a case to a jury.
Yeah.
And
my first week at the state attorney's office, I tried 2 jury trials. I selected a jury on Monday, 2 juries on Monday. I tried one on Tuesday, and I tried one on Thursday. So even before Friday, I had already tried 2 cases. Most lawyers, 95% of lawyers in the country have never tried 1 case in front of a jury. Yeah. Probably more than that, honestly.
And all the lawyers you see on TV probably never tried a case. If they did, it was 1 or 2, which we find interesting, because at Meldon Law, we really try to have real lawyers, real trial lawyers who will help our clients. So let's jump ahead till 2009, when you get a call from me and say, Carey, we need some help here. We need.
Well, it was a multitude of things. The recession had just hit. I had bought a house in Daytona, and I was underwater on it, and the finances. I mean, state attorneys don't get paid a ton of money. They're no surprise. They're public servants. So, financially it made sense, and the timing was of such that I had enough experience on my own that I felt comfortable that I can go back and pick up a criminal practice, and I had seen enough lawyers that I knew that I can put together a criminal defense. I kind of analogize it to a car mechanic. You have to know how to put together or take apart an engine to be able to put together an engine. So, I had done that for so long that I knew I could do the reverse. And that always is how I look at every case that comes into our office. I always look at it from what's the end result, and then I try to reverse engineer how do I get to that end result based upon the case that comes through my door. And, I've got more experience in criminal than civil, but, you rely on your instincts, and frankly, you just have to have confidence that you'll figure it out, even if you don't know all the answers.
So Carey joined the law firm in 2009, which is 17 years ago. And the way we divided the practice, I was doing the personal injury cases, and Carey took over the criminal department and did all the criminal cases. And our longtime legal assistant, Abby Knight, who had started working for me in 1979, was still there. Why don't you talk about how it was coming in to a new setting?
Yeah, it was different. What I had done at the state attorney's office, I had worked within a very structured setting. And Dad's office, while he had been successful for many, many years, I wouldn't say it was always structured the same way as potentially an office of 200 people. So, quickly I learned, I had to figure out how are we going to get structured, and I was able to rely on Abby and figure it out, how we did things differently in Gainesville. But, a lot of it was very similar. It was we had a lot of long-standing employees. Dad kept people around for a long time, so there was continuity, there was support, there was a bunch of, I would say, institutional knowledge and great. We had great lawyers. You had hired some really good lawyers when I came in the office. Dad had really high-quality trial lawyers working for him.
Yeah, and we built up both our criminal and personal injury practice, and I think it was really important for us to maintain good quality in our representation. That's one thing I'm very proud of throughout my whole career, your whole career. We've always focused in on really doing it the best we can, and we weren't completely focused on growing it as much as we could. We were more interested in doing top-notch representation. And then around 2018, you and I started looking at, well, how can we continue this top-notch representation to more and more people? Why don't you talk about how that evolution started?
Yeah, around 2016, I had moved down to Fort Lauderdale and started practicing criminal defense under the Meldon Law umbrella, just to go somewhere else and try handling cases somewhere else. I wanted to grow in a different area, Meldon Law, and I had family. My sister and my mother were down in South Florida, so it was a natural place to move. And so I just picked up, and Dad helped support me, and we put together a criminal defense team, and we started practicing in South Florida. And then 3 or 4 years later, COVID hit, and I was still living down in South Florida, and we came up with an opportunity to partner with the Gators, and we knew it was going to be expensive and it was going to require a lot more intentionality and a lot more commitment than what we had done before, which was just basically we're just handling our own cases. I didn't have anyone that I was delegating cases to for the majority of my career. I had another criminal defense attorney that was working with me at the end. But by the time 2021 rolled around, Dad and I were really in the case acquisition business. We were trying to get as many cases as we possibly could that we can manage in a manner that we felt like was professional and that would allow our clients to get great results. And so, we have so many lawyers in our family, including my sister, and we know the expectations that we have, and we know what good lawyering looks like. And it's hard to find good lawyers. I'm going to tell you now, I've never realized how hard it is to find competent people until I started working on the management side. But I think if you go into the legal profession, you have to really commit to putting everything into it and taking every loss personally. I know that can be draining. That's why there's high incidence of alcoholism and suicide in our profession. And, my grandfather, for example, he retired very young. It wore on him too, because if you do it the right way, then it's always on your mind. 2 a.m. in the morning, 3 a.m. in the morning, like the cases never stop. There's no clocking in and out of work. It's just always there. And to find those type of lawyers, in the last 6 years is what we strive to do. It's funny. I got a great litigator, and he comes up to me 2 months ago, and I said, well, what would you do? Who would you want handling this case if you were the one that's injured? And he's like, nobody. I would be the only one I would trust handling my own case. I'm like, great. That's the answer that I want, because I feel the same damn way. Is that I want lawyers that are so passionate and so confident in themselves that they know that they're the right person for the case.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And we've gone through a lot of learning since 2019, 2020. Mm-hmm. We joined a mastermind group. We've had coaching from top-notch professionals in how to successfully grow a practice, because it's one thing just to hire a bunch of people and get so-so results. We didn't want to do it that way. We wanted to grow the firm in a way that we would be able to continue to get top-notch results for our clients. And I think that's what Carey has been alluding to, is the fact that it's not easy to get people that meet our standards.
Yeah, but that's what we always attempt to do, because we want to have the reputation of being the best law firm, in our area. And so we'll continue to do that. I think one of the challenges that we're facing right now is that the world is changing, and we are very, very fortunate to have such a strong team and such a strong standing in the community that we feel like we're going to withstand these changes. And not only that, we're going to be able to use all the technology to become even better. And I think being able to be versatile, to be able to change with the times, to not only change with the times, but to see what the future is 1 year, 3 year, 5 years out. That's something that we work on every week when we meet together in our leadership teams, is how are we going to be the firm of the present and the firm of the future. Yeah,
I know 4 years ago, Carey came to me and said, "Dad, we got to start an AI department." And we hired an engineer who had a very high level of competence to come in and guide us through what we saw coming, which was AI. And now I think we're actually utilizing AI to make our team stronger. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to replace human contact. Absolutely, it won't replace it, but we can use it to supplement it. And that's the major way that we're going to be using AI, is as a tool, just like a Swiss Army knife. If you understand it and you have the right people around it, then it can be extremely powerful and make the results incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting for me. I mean, I've been practicing 55 years in Gainesville, and I love seeing all the new techniques and the new tools that we can use. Like Carey said, the bottom line is you still have to have people-to-people contact. Mm-hmm. So what we're doing is the tasks that AI can do, we're letting AI do it. However, the human contact with our client is irreplaceable. And we actually require our team, which is now up to 55 team members, to contact our clients on a regular basis. Number one, you find out great information every time you talk to your client, and it helps us develop their case. It helps us make sure that they're on the right track as far as having top-notch results. So when we say we're really utilizing AI, we're not utilizing it to distance ourselves from our clients. We actually giving our case managers and attorneys more time to communicate with our clients and develop their cases.
That's always the goal. And so we're going to continue to work to become better and better, and always, have that as our North Star.
And, I really feel like we're on the way to delivering the best service in the state of Florida. It's fun. We've got an office in South Florida now, in Miami and Fort Lauderdale. We're in Gainesville, Ocala, Lake City, Williston, the Villages. And so we want to thank everybody that supported us in our growth. And if you ever want to get a hold of us, if you know a friend or family member that needs help, you can go to meldonlaw.com, give us a call at 352-373-8000, and we'll be glad to help you. So that's important.
You can ask for us personally. We'll give you a call. So, everything is free consultations. We don't charge a fee unless we recover. We just handle personal injury cases. There's really no reason you shouldn't call us. At the very least, you're going to get some free information, and you're going to get some guidance as to what the next steps are. So, if you know us, if you know of us, if you think you may have something that is of our interest, give us a call. And if you know us personally, say, I'm a friend of Carey, I'd love to talk to him about this situation, and our staff will get to us about that.
What if they're not a friend of yours already?
Still give us a call.
Yeah.
Become our friend. Like that's how you become our friend, and even though we have lawyers and case managers and intake teams and receptionists that handle a lot of the introductory stuff, at any time, if you want to schedule an appointment to meet with us in the office, we make time for any of our clients if they request that meeting.
Yeah, and we try to differentiate ourselves because, a lot of the big box firms you see on TV all the time, you'll never talk to any of them. Where at our firm, you can talk to a Meldon about your case, and we try to keep that personalized aspect of our business and of our profession to make sure that that's not lost. Because when you think about it, the legal system has changed so much, at least in my lifetime, and now we're in an age where there's all these different tools that can depersonalize it if you let it, whereas we're really focused in on maintaining the human connection and getting the absolute best results possible for each client's case.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that seemed to be a really good show.
Yeah.
Thanks for inviting me on, Dad.
Anyhow, I'm Jeffrey Meldon, and
I'm Carey Meldon.
And we want to thank you for listening to a special, very special edition of Meldon Law and Friends. And we'll be back in just a few minutes with what's going on in the community. Thank you.
Jeffrey, what are you doing?
Well, I'm joining the band, of course. Since Meldon Law is the official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, I want to help.
Dad, we're litigators. Let's stick to helping people in the courtroom.
Well, can we still hang out and jam a little bit? At Meldon Law, we won't back down.
I was going down a one-way street and a girl that was driving her car T-boned me on my scooter. I ended up going for an MRI and discovering that I had 2 herniated discs. Coming to Carey allowed me to not have to worry about what doctor I was going to see or what physical therapist I had to go. They say, these are the people we trust. You're going to have a great experience there. And I honestly did each time.
Call Meldon Law. Your consultation is absolutely free.
For the first time ever in a public setting outside the Heisman Trophy ceremony in New York City, 3 legends are coming to Gainesville. Join Steve Spurrier, Daniel Werfel, and Tim Tebow together with their Heisman trophies for the Legends Gala at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill on Monday, March 30th. Enjoy an unforgettable night of Gator greatness while supporting the incredible mission of Isaiah 117 House. Tickets are limited. Get yours now at FLLegends.com. That's FLLegends.com. Don't miss your chance to be a part of Gator history.
And I was in an accident. Someone ran a red light and hit me, and I was hurt. You don't know where to turn. Luckily, I called Jeffrey. These big insurance companies, they don't want you to win. They truly don't. But Jeffrey and his firm and the people that work here, they just really fight for you. You call the law offices of Jeffrey Meldon, because you're going to need help, and they will help you.
Call Meldon Law right now.
Hey, Sammy, look who's there. Say hi.
Hey!
You again.
Meldon Law, Jeffrey speaking.
Somebody else hit us here.
Here we go again. Welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends. I'm Jeffrey Meldon, and we're having a great time today. What an interesting interview with my son, Carey. Anyhow, what's coming up? Meldon Law is sponsoring a Morgan Wallen VIP giveaway at his concert on May 16th, 2026 at the Florida Field, the stadium. It's a big weekend. He's doing Friday and Saturday night, 70,000 each night. And we decided that we'd put together this great package and it's easy to enter. You just go to Meldon Law Facebook page to enter to win, and listen to this. 2 row 3 tickets to see Morgan Wallen with Ella Langley on May 16th. That's a big Saturday night show, which is the biggest of the shows because Ella Langley's on it. It's at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, number 1. Number 2, dinner at Spurrier's before the show with Louis Stokes at 93.7 K Country, as well as myself. And our wives are going to join as well. And we're here at Spurrier's now in the podcast room and having a blast. We're going to be back here before the Morgan Wallen concert on May 16th. Also, we're providing an overnight stay at the newly renovated Holiday Inn a few blocks from the stadium, because the show is going to probably have at least 3, if not 4 acts on it, so it could go late. So if folks are coming from a distance and they've been having a good time, then they may want to just hang out for the night rather than driving home. In addition to that, we just heard that Morgan Wallen's group is going to contribute $250 to buy Morgan Wallen swag, or you can spend it on anything else you want. So anyhow, it's going to be a big time. All you have to do is go to the Meldon Law Facebook page to enter to win. So that we're excited about that. March 11th through the 15th is the World Equestrian Center Winter Spectacular events. So competition runs Wednesday through Sunday, starts as early as 8 a.m., and general admission is free throughout the season, except for the following ticketed events. The Longines League of Nations in Ocala on March 19th and 21st is a big deal. They have it's one of the big international events that occurs in Ocala. So anyhow, that's a little bit about what's going on in the World Equestrian Center. Gainesville Guitar Festival, March 13th at 7 p.m. at the Heartwood Soundstage. Some great guitar players are coming, so let's support them. It starts at 7 p.m., and there's limited seating inside, and that's the place you want to be if you're watching it. Gainesville Latino Festival, March 14th from 5 to 10 p.m. at the Bo Diddley Plaza. Our good friend Elio Pedro will be down there. Let's support it. March 14th from 5 to 10 p.m., Bo Diddley Plaza. Live music, dancing, authentic cuisine, and a lot of family fun. March 14th at the Riley Art Center in Ocala, a great Earth, Wind, and Fire tribute band, 7:30 p.m. And March 19th, there's a cornhole tournament in Newberry. Just go to SFH Cornhole 2026, eventbrite.com. SFH Cornhole 2026 if you're a cornhole fan. And then finally, I just wanted to tell you that my son Carey is doing a great job on the Meldon Law Jury Research Group project, where we're trying to get those of you in the community that would like to participate in a jury research focus group and give your opinions on a broad range of issues, as well as on the specific of the cases that we'll be presenting. We're inviting you to submit your name and fill out some questions. You want to go to Meldon Law on Facebook page. I think it's also on our website, meldonlaw.com, right up top. Participants receive $125 for their time, as well as dinner and dessert. And you can, on meldonlaw.com, scroll down to the jury research sign-up button or visit Meldon Law on Facebook. Meldon Law has been in practice since 1971, and we're really excited that we're serving more clients than ever before. We know that we're getting great results because we track it all. I believe, based on the information that we have, we're getting more than double what a lot of the big box law firms are getting for our clients. So keep that in mind when you're looking to choose an attorney for a serious case, because at Meldon Law, we handle lots of seven-figure cases, meaning million-dollar cases, and we're proud that we represent our clients vigorously. So remember us, Meldon Law. You can go to our website, meldonlaw.com. You can give us a call at 352-373-8000, or just Google or chat GPT Meldon Law, and we'll come up. I promise you the Ritz-Carlton experience. We're going to do everything to continue top-notch service to our clients. So I want to thank everybody for listening to the show. It's certainly a pleasure having my son join me on the show, because we've been partners for the last 17 years in the law firm, and we want to make sure everybody knows the quality and the hard work that Meldon Law puts into every case. So thank you very much for listening and watching, and we'll see you next week on Meldon Law and Friends.